Hey guys, and welcome out to a slightly different looking Pod of War show. I am your host, EF Gizmo, joined this time, as I always will be, by Massive Dash Chris Mangeli.
Hello everyone.
And as you will see by the title that we'll figure out at the end, this is a pilot episode for a Nintendo show that we're thinking about doing monthly, because me and Chris do like Nintendo. I mean, we were on a Nintendo forum quite regularly, so if that is not enough reason to do it, Chris, I don't know why.
Yeah.
So today we're going to start off talking about our Switch Backlogs, which is going to be the bulk of the show. And then we're going to talk about our favourite Nintendo games per console, just to kind of give you a flavour of where we are with Nintendo. So obviously there's no point in us really talking about what we've been playing, because this is the first episode, and we do that every week. So when we do, when we do specific Nintendo stuff, we'll talk about it, because... And obviously pickups, we might move the Nintendo pickups to this, so Craig hasn't got to sit there and put up with us being like, I bought a Wii Mini. For no reason.
The thing is, I'm not going to remember at the amount of time what I picked up.
You're gonna have to get a Limbox shelf, which is like all your Nintendo stuff goes onto the Penguin shelf, and then because you're not going to play it, are you? So it's just gonna.
Yeah.
Anyway, right, Chris. So let's begin with topic one of the show, and that is our Switch backlogs. So we've got quite hefty backlogs. I mean, so I've imposed some personal rules here. I'm not including games I finished on Wii U. I'm not including digital because I can't be asked to go and grab my Switch.
Yeah.
So this is just physical games that aren't ports I've already finished on the Switch. So do you want to go first? Do you want to do all of yours first, Chris, and I'll just show all of mine afterwards?
I don't know. I didn't know if you all wanted to go.
Well, let's go
one
with
each.
Let's...
One each or something.
I mean, how many have you got?
9.
I think I might have more than 9. Let's just show all of yours, and then if I've got the same, I can take it out of my pile then.
Cool. So the first one is Atelier Riser 2.
Not in mine.
Yeah. So this one obviously picked up at the start of the year, because it came out in January. I picked up around my birthday, I believe, and I've played like 2 hours of it. I got the you played a little bit thing on the Switch,
which is less than an hour for the record.
I sure I played for like 2 though.
There you go.
Right, yeah. So what I've actually played of it is, decent. Like I've traded in. We've talked about it on the regular games cast, I guess you would call it. Like Bravely Default, and I played, I don't know, 5 hours of that. Got to chapter 1, or did chapter 1, and I just found that a bit boring, so I traded that in. I haven't traded in. What I did play, and the combat system and the characters all seem really good. It's just, I don't know, it's just one of those weird ones. We've talked about it before, where if I had this on PlayStation or Xbox, if there was an Xbox version, I may have played it just because the trophies were achievements. Really, there's that weird lack of ecosystem on the Switch, where it's all pretty plain and basic. You turn the Switch on, it's just a white screen or a black screen, depending what you've got on light or dark mode, and that's
you don't have light mode, surely.
I think I got light mode.
Oh,
I think.
Oh, Chris.
Yeah, I think I got light mode.
What a way to discover that.
Yeah, so it's I don't know, it just lacks compared to the Xbox or the PlayStation. You turn them on, you got what your friends are doing and all the stuff like that. So there's one I plan to go back to at some point, but it's just at some point is
2025 is when the Switch 2 comes out.
Yeah. This one is my current playing Switch game. It's Great Ace Attorney, where I am on case 3 of the first game. So if you're going, what are you playing on Switch at the moment? It would be this. So it's just, yeah. So I sort of put it on my backlog, but it's not. It is what I'm actually playing.
It's still just about on the log, but you're getting through it, so that's good.
Yeah. So should get through that. Then we've got Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity.
So this is the first instance of this, so I can show mine as well. Yeah, that is also in my backlog. I've not played a single minute of this, Chris.
I played about 10 minutes of
Not a single minute.
I've got it mainly because it's a Zelda game, so
There you go, yeah.
And you buy Zelda games, and also the problem when I bought this, I only had the light, and the light and the regular Switch or a Switch dock should run pretty similar, but it did run pretty dreadfully on the Switch, like playing on the screen, and I could like barely see what was going on. And I've just never tried it again since. I really should, because I really like the first Hyrule Warriors on like Wii U. So, and obviously this one connects into Breath of the Wild and that, so it's actually like a canon sort of ish one compared to like the first one. So, then starting with the theme, Skyward Sword HD, which is like, if you said what's like after Great Ace Attorney, what am I playing? It would be this. And we've talked past about this also on like the cast. I don't like either controls scheme of it. Like it's weird. I like recommend mostly playing the Wii version still. But like we were just talking about the quality of life improvements, though. Like I seen like a comparison video of it, and like the lack of tutorial. I know that sounds weird, as like shaving off tons of time so you haven't got feed going onto you like every 5 minutes. So that point of view is really good, and like it does look way, it does look better in the cutscenes and stuff like that. Is just I'm not keen on either control schemes of it. That is the weird thing on that. So, and also like I've had the same with Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD, where like I've got on played a bit and I'm like, oh cool, it's got Wind Waker and not Sky Twilight Princess HD. It's cool. I've played these before. Do I continue playing these, or do I go play I don't know, Great Ace Attorney, which I've not played, sort of thing? And it's like, oh, okay, I'll play the game I've not played. Like you were saying, you've got a bunch of Wii U ports you've not listed on here because you've already like played them. It's that sort of thing.
It's the curse of being a Nintendo fan, because every time, and if we do more of these shows, we'll talk about it lots. But like every time they release something, because it's them, even though you won't play it. So like I'm having this real bad internal debate about Metroid Dread at the minute, which we'll talk about later in the year. And I'm just like, I know I'm not going to play it. I know I'm not, but it's a Nintendo game, so I kind of want to have it because it's not going to get any cheaper. So, you know what I mean? It's this like weird thing. You're like, oh yeah, it'd look good on your Zelda shelf, so I should buy all the Zelda games, even though you're like you said, you've played them all. So you're like, I'm not. What am I learning by playing it again?
Yeah, like I think I've got like 45 Zelda games. I know some of them, like, Skyward Sword on Wii and Switch. So there's like obviously doubles there and stuff like that. But it's like, so it's quite this one's sort of on the backlog and is this Monster Hunter Rise, because obviously I have finished the village quests and when it was 1.0 that was like the story or anything, but the you got the hub quest, the multiplayer, and 3.0 added like a whole new ending and stuff like that through the hub quest. So I've got like the multiplayer side of the story to do. And then obviously Capcom have got the collaborations and stuff like that. So we had one recently for Akami, which I've not done, and there's one coming for Street Fighter. I think you can get a Kuma like skin for your hunter. So it's one of those ones like I've finished, but it's also on like the backlog as, oh cool, I got.
It's always there. Like it's one of those.
Yeah, it's always
games.
there. It's one of those weird ones. Like I've got it physical. I've got like the amiibo, and so I've got the controller and that. I kind of wish I bought it digital, so it's just on my Switch, and then like bam, I can just go on, do a hunt or something online, and then jobs are good, and then okay, cool, I can move on to something else.
I suppose you might get a sale because it's a Capcom game, not a Nintendo game. So
yeah, so it goes on sale digitally or something, and. Similar situation of Tilia Riser on this one. If I had it on PlayStation, may have finished it, and it does look kind of ropey on the Switch as well. Like Tilia Riser still looks decent because of the art style. The art style of the game, obviously, is known for its art style, but obviously being bigger and open and stuff like that, it does look a tad like, I would say the resolution I was going to guess is like 720p if I
on a good day. I think it's 720p on a good day.
If I was hazard to guess. I've done like I'm halfway through the first prison or something like that, because it's prisons this time, not like dungeons or something like that. And yeah, it's more Persona 5. Continue on from Persona 5, not Persona 5 Royal. So if you want to get a bit confusing. So yeah, it's another Muso. I got this theme of playing Musos and like not playing any of them.
Jesus.
But But there's another one is like it's in my collection. I've got quite a few Persona games now. Like you would have seen on the uh, Gamecast, my pickups. Like I have like Persona 3 and stuff like on the PS2 and that. And like this, like the PS4 version's gone down a bit. I think you can get it for like 20, 25 quid now. But the Switch version's like going up in price because it's a Persona. It's on Switch. So like it's good that it's in my collection because otherwise it'd have been like a year's time or something. It'd be too expensive or whatever to get. It's just if I ever go back to it, it's the thing. Sakuna of Rise and Ruin.
I
got this one.
forgot you bought this.
Yeah, I got this like in a sale in game. I think it was down to like about 19.99 or 24.99. Got it because it's Bala on the forums Game of the Year last year. And what I have played is kind of fun. It's like a weird 2D platformer, but after you've done the 2D platform and you collected like what you've done platform, and if you collected some materials, you go back to like your little town and you're trying to build your town up. So it's got like that Harvest Moon thing mixed in with RPG, and it's sold actually I think really well for a Marvelous game. Like 2 people did it, and they've added like more content and stuff like that. And it looks really good, especially the village bit where that's in like proper like 3D behind the camera and stuff. So I can kind of see why I really liked it last year, and I got it quite cheap. And it's another one that's like because it's Marvelous and stuff like that, and it's kind of niche. It could end up becoming sort of rare. So saw it cheap, picked it up. Good recommendations. I just not really got around to it. Super Mario 3D.
Hey, that's finally another one. Hang on,
Yeah.
where is it? Here we go.
Yeah, this is kind of a weird one.
This is Nintendo's fault, isn't it? Though? Let's start. The reason me and you have both bought this is because they went, "Ooh, we're gonna stop selling it." So me and you had to buy it. They're just ROMs put on a cartridge. And we're like, we've got to buy it.
I wasn't going to buy it because they literally did nothing, and then I think it was when my PS5 went back or something. I had a refund because that was cash. I had some sort of refund with Shop 2, and then like because I had credit with them, I got this. It's a bit like Skyward Sword. I was saying with that, it's like how many times have I played Super Mario 64 on N64, played the DS port and stuff like that, and like. Yeah, not that too bothered about that. Sunshine is great, and it's good that it's now like available more people because not many people, played the GameCube. And looking a bit better, but again, I've played that. I don't know how many times. So really, for me, the only thing I was really too bothered about was Super Mario Galaxy, because I wasn't keen of the controls of like the weird shaking and stuff like that. So really, that's what I used to go. On the backlog, it's really Super Mario Galaxy is, the backlog game is what I want to get to because it's a 3D Mario that I haven't finished, and obviously I haven't finished 2 as well, which isn't in this collection, so I'd have to actually play that on my Wii if I was going to play 2. And then the last one is Wii U port, which I started on Wii U, I have on Wii U somewhere, and then I've got like the Enhanced Edition, and that's Tokyo Mirage Session Sharp FE Encore, which is sort of Persona-ish. Imagine Persona, but with like Fire Emblem characters. You replace Arson with Chrom thing.
Pretty much.
And just battle system, I think, is a bit more Shin Megami Tensei than Persona. What I've played of it on both systems, I kind of like. It's just like one of those weird games. I'm not going to trade it in or anything like that. It's just like, I'll get to it at some point, and the other RPGs and stuff comes out, and it's like, right, that's the other game played.
There's so many games like that as well. Like the Switch is like, even just like the Atlas games. You've got like, Nocta, and you haven't bought. You've got 5 coming out at the end of the year. You'll probably get a Persona port at some point. So what's amazing by all those games, Chris, is that only 2 I had in my backlog. Which probably tells you how many games are on the bloody Switch.
There's a lot on Switch.
So my stack is still pretty big. So let's go. So the first one is very strange, and you would not expect it of me, and that is Wargroove.
Okay.
Which is one of those weird and cool little indie sort of sets that comes with like maps and stickers and strategy guides and stuff. And I saw it for about £7, brand new, and I was like, I think it was on Game Pass at the time. But I really like Fire Emblem and I really like Advance Wars, and I was like, I kind of would rather play this handheld. So I picked up. I have not played it at all yet, but it was so cheap I couldn't turn it down. And Nintendo is really the only company that I'm like this with. Like the Wii U, I'm awful for it, but yeah. And in a very similar vein, Chris, the Collection of Mana, because I've actually never played Secret of Mana, even though it was the only one that came out over here.
Yeah,
which is why I should have played it, and I just wanted a physical version of it. I actually think it's in the SNES Mini, which I have used, which I'm currently using as a mic stand. So I actually now have 2 physical versions of it. Obviously, it has Trials of Mana and the Game Boy game as well, which is what did we call over here?
Final Fantasy. Yeah, it's Final Fantasy something.
We got that as well. Oh God. Sorry, you had this on like a Japanese import, didn't you?
Yeah, I had a Japanese import of it. Because it was like, it's not coming to the West, and then it did come to the West.
I love it. But yeah, so I had that. Similar to that, I've also got Trials of Mana, which is the new version. So my girlfriend's actually played quite a lot of this. I haven't got around to it yet. But I will eventually. It looks pretty fun, actually, from what I saw her play. It's another one of those. It's a JRPG, so it's long and whatever, but honestly, like, I'm as bad as Chris. When it comes to Switch, I am as bad as Chris. Like, I've literally just shown you 3 games I've not played a single second of.
Yeah.
One game I have played a second of, though, to transition, is Yooka-Laylee in the Impossible Lair, which is the Donkey Kong Country like ukulele. I've played like 5 or 6 hours of this. It's fantastic. If you like 2D platformers that have had any kind of difficulty, and you don't specifically want to play Tropical Freeze, Yooka-Laylee in the Impossible Lair is great. I think it goes a bit underrated because the first Yooka-Laylee wasn't that great. So I kind of think people are like, oh, maybe the second one isn't good. But this one is a very, very good game. And again, it's super cheap. I think I paid like £10 for it. So to have a physical version is cool. Back on the games I've never played. This is Astral Chain. Again, it was a rare thing that it was cheap on Amazon. I think it was about 18. And I was like, my friend Pete loves this game. Has played like 80, 90 hours of it. It's like, oh, it's fantastic. Platinum have got such a good reputation. I was like, oh, I've got to pick it up. Again, I haven't played it. I literally never even put it in.
I've played. I can't remember how much of it I've played, but I wasn't keen on it at all. I didn't like the weird dual person like combat mechanic. I just couldn't get on with that.
It's one of those ones that, like you said earlier, if this was on Xbox, I probably would have played it. I would have forced my way to play it because of the achievements and stuff. But it's just, I find it really difficult playing these type of games on the Switch, just because it usually runs badly, and I can't use Joy-Cons. I have to use my Split Pros because it's just unbearable otherwise. So we will see if I ever get to that.
You're never getting to that.
No, probably not. The next one I've actually played quite a lot. I played about 15 hours of it, which is like 10% of the game, Chris, and that is Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Another JRPG I'm never going to get to. So I've bought like every version of this game. Like, we have it on new 3DS. I have a digital Wii copy on Wii U because it just looks like a game that like I'll like. It kind of like hits that Final Fantasy kind of vibe in a way. Like, it's not so Japanese that it's like Persona. It's still kind of high fantasy, but it's a Japanese high fantasy, and the characters and stuff I love. This version is fantastic. Like, it looks way better. The quality of life is great. The combat system is really fun. It's just huge. It's easily, I think it's easily the biggest game on Switch, like physically. Like, the world is absolutely massive. Obviously they've added content as well, so it's like, it's a good, it's like 150. It's one of those. It's The Witcher. It's Japanese Witcher, basically. Like, so I this is one I will get to. Like, this is one of those. This one might be the next year. The Witcher for next year for me. You know what I mean? So I'll spend all year trying to get through it. But what I've played of it so far, I really like it. I love the cheesy British accents. I'd say Monado all the time. It's fantastic. So we got a Wii U port. That is Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I've never really got into the Pikmin series. I own them all because why wouldn't I? I'm a Nintendo fan, right? And I own this on Wii U, but again, it's sort of pretty cheap. This has all the content.
See, this is gonna be I played it on Wii U. It's gonna be interesting what the Switch one is like, because how I played it on Wii U, I used the Wiimote and the nunchucks, so you can point where you want to put your Pikmin and you move with thing, and then you had the gamepad as your map, basically in front of you with that little stand, the gamepad come with. I found that was like the best way to play it. And obviously, you play on Switch, you're using the gamepad. I guess you can use the Joy Cons, like use the Joy Con to point where you want your Pikmin and then thing. But I remember like the map was like like that was the way Nintendo was showing it off how to play as well. It's like use Wiimote and your nunchuck and your gamepad as your map and stuff, so you could figure out where the things were in the world to go collect them. So it'd be interesting what you think of it if you ever get to it.
If I ever get to it, yeah. It's one of those as well, I think. It's that and the Wonderful 101 is kind of like, I think they have a button to basically bring up the second screen. It's interesting to see that like the gamepad was actually useful for some games. For me, the reason I got it on that is because the all of the added content. Yeah, that's the DLC and all that good stuff. So love that. And the last one is a game that is actually on my backlog list, for the official backlog list that Craig is going to win as well on the Pod4 main chat, and that is Paper Mario Origami King. I played like 5 hours of this. It's just really boring. It's really hard to explain because the world's kind of cool. Obviously it's beautiful, and the characters aren't even that bad. The characters are pretty good for a newer Paper Mario game, but the combat system is like pointless, like actually pointless. Like I would argue the Color Splash one has a point because you get some level of experience from it, but this just seems it's like a weird child puzzle, and then the boss fights are completely different. It's really weird. They need to either decide, like, this should either have been like Super Paper Mario and basically a platform adventure game, or it should have been like 1,000 Year Door, an RPG. Like, they need to decide what they want to do with it and stop having these weird halfway battle systems. Because like, it would be, either way would be better. Like, if they don't want to do RPGs, then that's fine. Just make it a platformer, or like an action adventure platformer like Super Paper Mario, and I think it would be okay. I think it would be a fun game. But yeah, the combat system is just weird. I think the combat system might be worse than Sticker Star, in my opinion. But the rest of the game is a lot better. Like, a lot better. Like, it's up there with Color Splash, and we've talked about it in the past. I actually really like Color Splash. I think Color Splash is massively underrated. So
it's because it was. Did Color Splash come out after the Switch?
No,
or
it was 2016. It was the end of 2016. It was like, and no one bought it. Like, I remember on the forums, there was like 3 of us that were excited for it, and I think even then, only like 2 of us picked it up.
Yeah.
But I liked Color Splash.
I picked it up after launch. Because it actually did go down in price, which again, Nintendo games going down in prices, unusual. I guess that's the thing about the Wii U, apart from the odd 1 or 2. Yeah, so I have played a bit of that, but not much.
No, but
Color Flash, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I will get through Origami King. 'Cause I think it's only about a 20-hour game, so it's one of those I'd like to finish all the games in the series. I think it's the only one really. I could do with a replay of 1,000 Year Door, but I'm kind of holding out for a port.
What about Super Mario RPG?
Because that has never come out officially over here, is it? Other than like emulation.
It's on things.
It's on the SNES Mini, which I have in front of me, and I have it on Wii U. I think
it's on SNES Online, no? It's on the.
No, they haven't got any good games on there. I'm pretty sure they haven't got any of the RPGs on there. I think people specifically kick off about that every time.
Okay, I thought it was on there, but
no.
Okay,
I've played. I think I did finish it. I played it on Wii U. I have it on Wii U. I'll check my save.
Yes, because the Wii U Virtual Console is great.
Yeah, like that and Earthbound I finished on Wii U. I'm sure I did because I have them all like lined up in order on there because you can do folders on the Wii U, Chris.
We
could have a whole podcast about how the Wii U is better than the Switch, but that's at least week 2, right? So that's our backlogs. That was 23 minutes of Craig tearing his hair out with ammunition for the next podcast.
So basically, what I've learned from there is we buy they're mainly all Japanese games, they're mainly all RPGs, and we don't actually play them.
No.
So this is what we've
learned a lot this year. This last 8 months is what we've learned is we need to stop buying JRPGs.
Yeah, if you watch the main cast like this week, I talked about Tales of Arise, like playing the demo of it. I'm like, okay, this is not great. And a few months before playing the demo of Scarlet and Nexus, and I've waited until I haven't picked it up yet, but it's gone down cheaper and stuff. And seen reviews, know how long it is, etc. So gonna have to be that. And the thing is, you mentioned Metroid Dread. It's that's gonna be like a 12-hour Metroidvania, so at least it's not going to be a 100-hour RPG. So
Yeah, it's just I don't really think I like Metroidvania games. Like I really like the first person 3D Metroids. Like I really like Prime. Like Prime is like fantastic. We played that a couple of years ago. And even 2 and 3 I think are pretty good. Even Other M I don't think is actually that bad. It's just the actual like story's horrendous, but the gameplay is actually okay. Yeah, I just struggle. I tried because I downloaded Zero Mission when they announced Dread, and I got about an hour in, and I was like, I don't really like this. I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. It's like maybe I'm just too spoon-fed, you know. But
yeah, it's a weird thing because I'm not a big Metroidvania person, but then I really like Symphony of the Night, so
yeah,
and so it's one of those. And I guess also it's like it's one of the big games in October. Everyone's going to be sort of on it. If you need a help or whatever, I guess there's going to be people to talk to. I'm like, oh right, I've got to so and so. And I also like the from the trailers, like Emmy following you around that and that.
I don't like that.
Yeah, see, that to me looks like like the horror vibes of
Yeah.
it. Of like, oh cool, Resident Evil, or like Mr. X and Nemesis and stuff like that. It gives me those sort and like vibes of it. It's see what it's and then again, it's a Nintendo games. It's not going to go down in
Yeah, that's
price, so
really
it's
the
like,
killer.
so you might as well, if you're going to get it, you might as well just get it at launch,
Yeah.
instead of waiting like 6 months to get it, because nothing's going to change.
Yeah, it's horrible. Like it's honestly like if it was on Xbox or PlayStation, I know there wouldn't be a conversation. I wouldn't even bother because I'm like, no, it's fine. Like it's just that horrible Nintendo. Like, are they gonna make 10 copies of it, and you won't be able to get like? So if you try to buy Samus Returns now, like it's ridiculous, like 90 quid.
Yeah,
So
and like the amiibos are sold out, for instance, for Dread, the special edition sold out, and people are like trying to get more on eBay.
When I looked yesterday, you could still get the amiibo on Nintendo's official store.
Oh, okay, cool.
But the special edition's long gone, gone. And obviously, I still can't get a Loftwing amiibo for my girlfriend because that's 30 quid. They get our wallets, don't they? They know how to do it. But anyway, so that's our backlog, and we're going to talk about the second topic of the show. 2 topics in one show, Chris. It's madness, I know.
I know.
So we're going to talk about our favourite games from each console. So the consoles we're going to go through. Okay, we'll go through the NES, the Game Boy, the SNES, the N64, the Virtual Boy, the Game Boy Color. We're not doing it in this order. I'll just do all the handhelds and all the things.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So basically, we'll be all the ones, but so we're going to count Game Boy and Game Boy Color as 2 different ones. We're going to and obviously you're going to talk about the Pokemon Mini because I've never touched one. The Virtual Boy because I've never touched one.
Yeah, this really came about because going back to the forum, and Balor on there posted something about a different forum which is like associated, and they were doing like their favorite games per console, and then he was like, use the Switch for example because it's not my favorite Switch game, but like Switch, everyone was saying Breath of the Wild sort of thing, and there wasn't much variety. But he was on about like the DS was like all over the place, and then he posted it in the GNamer forum like this thing, and we ended up, most of us, especially me, posting like our favorite games for our system instead of talking about the DS, and then a couple of us did the same as well. So I just got like the list from there on there, continuing over. But obviously you didn't post at the time, so see what yours are, and then people, Alistair, our number 1 fan or something, might pop in and go, oh, cool, that he really likes so-and-so on the Wii. I was surprised about that.
Yeah, it's funny. So a little tip about me in the forum, I do almost all my forum posting on my phone, so I struggle to get like anything that's well set out. So if you ever see me on the forum posting stuff, it's usually short answers because I just can't fiddle with it on my phone. And the most interesting thing about to me and you doing this is we are complete loser psychopaths who have played every console. So like most people haven't played every Nintendo console. Like most of them haven't. Like Al hasn't. I'm sure he hasn't. But like we have. So at least we have something to say. And I think we both owned, obviously, Virtual Boy and Pokemon Mini, which didn't come out over here, I don't think. Am I right in thinking that?
Pokemon Mini did, but Virtual Boy didn't.
So like that's the only ones I've never owned at all. Like all the rest I own now, I think. I don't have a working Game Boy Advance. I think that's the one thing I don't have. But I used my DS for that. So
that's my Game Boy Advance.
I haven't got it near me because I haven't got time to get all my consoles out. But I do have a beautiful special edition Pokemon Game Boy Color. So That's
Oh,
where I am.
nice.
So let's begin. Let's start handheld because it's the least interesting. To be honest, the least interesting. We'll get that out of the way early. So we'll start with me because why not? And we're gonna start with the Game Boy. Now, in a very boring thing. Hang on, Chris. Here we go. Mine is Pokemon Red.
Mine's also Pokemon Red,
which
so
I still have boxed.
that's like 150 quid.
Yeah, everything's still in there as well. So yeah, Pokemon Red.
Yeah.
We were born in 1990. I think both of us were. Or were you born in 89?
Yeah, 1990.
So we literally grew up with the Pokemon craze. I think we were like 6, 7 when Red and Blue came out. So it was the second place for me would have been Super Mario Land 2, which I got with my original
I think
Game Boy.
my second would have been one of the Wario games or something like that.
Yeah, Wario Land is pretty good.
Or maybe like Pokemon Gold or Silver, because it's a weird one because it's.
You could use it for either. You could,
yeah, because it's a Game Boy Color enhanced game,
Yeah.
so it's one of those weird sort of like thing. It's a bit like Xbox now. You can play it on Xbox One or you see, and it's enhanced.
We'll
It
say
sort of is, isn't it?
Yeah,
like that cartridge can work on both.
Well, not even that. So even using Pokemon Red as an example, I played most of Pokemon Red on my Super Game Boy, on my Super Nintendo, which was a Super Game Boy enhanced game. It had colors. It was pretty much full color. I think it wasn't one of those. It was like, I think on the Game Boy Color it was like all red, but on the Super Game Boy, like Charmeleon was red, Squirtle was blue, all that kind of good stuff. So there was no point in us talking about what Pokemon is. You all know what Pokemon is. It was pretty much a gateway into JRPGs for me.
Yeah.
And still remains. Like I could play that entire game all the way through backwards, blindfolded at this point. Love it. Any extra thoughts on Pokemon Red, Chris, before we knock out the Game Boy straight away?
No, not really.
So we'll transition over to you for this one. Let's talk about the Virtual Boy, Chris.
Okay, cool. So I've owned 2 Virtual Boys. The first one, I think it was missing the stand or something. I traded it for a Jaguar. So,
Jesus Christ.
So that's a thing. And the second one was missing the controller. Like, I don't know why people lose things to Virtual Boy, but I did pick up a controller for it. And I had 2 games where I had Tetris and Mario Tennis. So my favourite Virtual Boy game, by default, really, is Mario Tennis, which actually does look really good. I can see what they were trying to do with like the virtual 3D effects and stuff, and obviously Nintendo, went on and did the 3DS with like the 3D of that. But yeah, it's just Mario Tennis, almost like a Game Boy Mario Tennis, but obviously the added depth of the 3D and Virtual Boy, and it's all red instead of all grey, basically. Yeah, but it's a fun, tennis game. I hear the Wario game is really good on the Virtual Boy, but I've never played it because, like I said, I only had the 2 games. So
yeah, it's that and Jack Bros. Everyone says it's actually good games, but they've never been released in any other form. So that's unfortunately we'll never find out.
Jack Bros was the first Shin Megami Tensei game released in North America.
There you go. The more you know, Chris, the Fresh Maker. Well, that's as much Virtual Boy as you're going to get out of anything on this channel, probably for the next 10 years, because I can't see Craig cracking out and chatting about it. So we'll go on to Game Boy Color now.
Yeah.
Now, I want it to be really interesting and be like Super Mario Deluxe or Link's Awakening DX, but I'm going to be boring. It's Pokemon Crystal.
Yeah, I put Pokemon Crystal as well because it's a Game Boy Color only game. That's why I put it over like Gold and Silver, even though it's also an enhanced Gold and Silver. So basically that gen, much like Pokemon Red, you could have gone red, blue, or yellow, or green sort of thing. It's really the same sort of thing. Yeah, but Pokemon Crystal, and I would say still they're the best Pokemon games, or maybe the Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes on the DS, but that's definitely the best gen.
We'll talk about them
Pokemon.
later. Yeah, I mean, for me, Pokemon Gold is one of my all-time favorite games of all time. Then Crystal, like you said, Crystal was just the better version of that with more content. You could be a girl for the first time, which is like obviously not that exciting for us, but like I know a lot of female gamers that got really into Pokemon post Crystal because they really pushed that. Obviously, it's I think it was like graphically enhanced as well. I think you had like the Pokemon had like animations, I think, and stuff like that, like when they came into battle, which is again for a Game Boy Color is pretty impressive, and it was really the flagship game for that console. There wasn't a lot of like particularly great only games, I think, for the colour. I had like, what have I got? I've got UEFA 2000 and UFC, and I think Tech Deck, if you remember Tech Deck, the little thumb skateboards. They were like tiny little skateboards.
Okay.
And it was like a tiny Tony Hawk game. It's actually okay, but like those are the type of games I had on my Game Boy Color. And the incredibly rare Speedy Gonzales game that I own. Apparently it's super rare. We bought it as kids. So.
Yeah, I guess for me, like when I had like a Game Boy Color, it's just what I play my Game Boy games on, and then if it was a Game Boy game that was enhanced on it, or if it was a Game Boy Color game that was only on Game Boy Color, it just happened to be the case sort of thing. Didn't really, I guess, think about it back then. Just like, oh, it's my Game Boy in color, nice.
Yeah, we were kids, we didn't know, did we? But the Game Boy Color games were cool and see-through, which is a great exclusive color to do, which I love. Anyway, Game Boy Color aside, let's move on to Pokemon Mini. If you can very briefly tell us your favorite Pokemon Mini game, Chris.
Much like the Virtual Boy, but I did have every game that came out on launch. So basically, I got my Pokemon Mini. I think I had the green one, which is Chikorita. Is it Chikorita?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I had the green one, and they came bundled with the game, and basically I bought all the launch games. And I think we had like one more game came out after that. In Japan, it had a couple more. In North America, it had slightly less than Europe, so like sort of in between. Because I think Pokemon Tetris is something supposed to be really good on it. But my favorite is Pokemon Pinball because it's Pokemon Pinball basically. Like the games on there was not great, not hugely great, and this is actually like a proper game. And also we had a Pokemon Pinball game on. Was it just regular Game Boy? And then we had the Ruby and Sapphire one on GBA.
So I'm pretty sure it was one of the color enhanced Game Boy games. It had a AAA battery pack you put in it.
Yeah, I remember.
I still have it because it's one I have. Like I think I own all of them actually.
So it was basically a mini version of that. So it was it's a really fun, good game. It's like a game I would actually recommend playing, where like zany cards or something I most really wouldn't recommend really playing on the Pokemon Mini if you were to get one. And if you're gonna get a Pokemon Mini now, you're mostly gonna get all the games anyway. If you're gonna source one of them, but yeah, it's a weird, interesting novelty console that Nintendo did. Well, actually, I think it was more the Pokemon Company did because they can do what they want, but
Yeah, it's true. So moving swiftly on to the Game Boy Advance, which of course is the Advance and the Advance SP, which was the much better console. I haven't got a massive amount of experience of the Game Boy Advance. I had one very briefly. I'm not going to say Pokemon because it's boring. I think actually the Pokemon Game Boy Advance games are my least favorite generation of Pokemon, and I get a lot of shit for this all the time. But I think a lot of people our age kind of dropped off of Ruby and Sapphire. And then came back.
I never played them until the 3DS remakes. That was when I played it. Like we're gonna sound similar here on there. Like I got a GBA. This was my first midnight launch. I had a GBA A for midnight launch. I think I had the Mario game on it.
Super Mario Advance, which is Super Mario Bros. 2, I think.
And it was like that sort of like weird age of like I think it must have been like 13, 14, or maybe a little bit younger. And it was like playing like Halo and stuff on the Xbox. So like a multiplayer and like playing like I know everyone can play FIFA and PES, but like going around with your mates and stuff after school and playing that. So like the Game Boy Advance like never really got a look in. So it's one of those consoles where the library is a bit of a blank for me, and the next system after is very similar but my favorite GBA game is also my favorite 2D Zelda, and that's Minish Cap.
Minish Cap's great, made by Capcom.
Yeah. Yep,
who also did the Age of Eight, was it?
Oracle of Ages.
Sorry, I was completely confused myself. Minish Cap is like the shortest Zelda game, I think, right? It's like the shortest proper Zelda game.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
It's a good game. That would be close for me. I really enjoyed that game.
Yeah, I would love a Link's Awakening style remake of it.
I would rather they do the Oracle games first, but I wouldn't mind Minish Cap HD. My train of thought's completely gone now, Chris.
Yeah.
What was the game I was going to say?
I don't know.
Oh, it was Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
Okay, yeah.
A fantastic strategy RPG. So it's the first Final Fantasy Tactics on PS1 was a lot more like serious, Whereas in this one, you play kids and you're kind of like a kiddie world. It's still kind of dark in places, and it has a lot more of the Ivalice characters from Final Fantasy 12 and so on. There's lots of Ivalice games. But it's just a fantastic little strategy RPG. It's on Wii U Virtual Console for sure, so I would recommend playing it there if you can't play it anywhere else. But Final Fantasy Tactics Advance is by far my favourite Game Boy Advanced game. Christopher. So next we move.
Not Bogatai.
Not Bogatai at all. I mean, the close ones would be in there. Rayman Advance was pretty good, and all of the Sonic Advance and all the Mario Advanced games. But I played them all on other consoles, so Sonic Advance is pretty underrated. But Sonic on a Nintendo platform, the madness at this time. So the next console, as like you said, you didn't play much of. I played a lot. Like a lot of DS. DS was the console I took to university with me and through college. So in the dark times of having no money, and I didn't have an Xbox 360. I didn't have any home consoles for about 6 months. So my DS and my PSP were really the way to go. But the Nintendo dual screen, Chris. So any ones that jump out at you? There's quite a lot. It's I think it is Nintendo's best-selling console, right? I think it's up there. Is that or the Wii?
Yeah, I think it is. I think the DS is outsold the Wii. So it's a weird one because, like I said, a lot of libraries are blank. Like I got one at launch. I even had an American import like at launch, with Super Mario 64. So that's how like I was saying earlier with the going for our backlog. Like I've played Super Mario 64. I don't know how many times. And I totally dropped off Nintendo handhelds and stuff like that, and even like Nintendo as a whole, like it wasn't huge on the Wii. Sort of work got me back into this because we're going to stick with Pokemon, and like everyone, like, oh, you're playing Pokemon and that, and I'm gonna go for Pokemon White, which is a thing. But it's like like I said, a lot of people were playing it, talking about it, like, oh, this is my starter, whatever. And it got me, like I said, back into Pokemon. So then, like, later on the 3DS, playing Omega Ruby and Sapphire. I missed Diamond and Pearl, so I'm excited for the remakes of them coming in on Switch. Yeah, but it's Pokemon White, 'cause I haven't really got a whole lot I can think of to choose from on the DS. Like I own the DS Zeldas, but I never played them when they came out, and I've not got around. I've just never got around to playing them. So it's like Pokemon White. It's like almost by default. It's not like Virtual Boy or Pokemon Mini. It's only like 2 games to pick from. There'd be much more, but the jumping quality between some of them and this, So yeah, Pokemon White. We got a theme. We like Pokemon. There we go. Simple.
Yeah. So mine's like the answer is Pokemon Heart Gold for me. Like there is I can't even pretend it's anything else. But I played a lot. There was a lot of close stuff. The Final Fantasy 3 and 4 ports were amazing. All of the Pokemon games that are on there are amazing. The Dragon Quest games on there are amazing. Mario and Luigi, Bowser's Inside Story. Sorry, it was very close because again, it's a fantastic RPG. Again, I like our handheld RPGs. If you go on my Switch games, I've actually finished almost all turn-based RPGs.
Yeah, I've always really I think it's the Pokemon effect as well.
Just lying on the sofa and playing it. That's the thing. That's
it's like so like you're saying, like a gateway into RPGs is like the first one I played on my Game Boy, and it's like, oh, I play RPGs on a handheld. It's just I don't know, that weird thing. Obviously, like back in the time, I tried like Final Fantasy 7 or whatever on my PS1 because like, oh, I like this Pokemon thing, sort of thing. But yeah, very heavy RPGs on handheld.
Mm-hmm. And Pokemon Heart Gold is still the best Pokemon game they've ever made.
Most probably is. Yeah,
it's also one of the hardest to get. I sold my original copy when I sold my first 3DS, and big shout out to my friend Damon who gave me his copy because he was going to give it to Music Magpie for like £5 or something, and I was like, please don't, because it's like he had so it's complete in box.
With the Pokemon Walker
and the cardboard box, which is, as you know, Chris, a very expensive game on eBay. And he was literally like, I was going to give it to Music Magpie for £5. And I was like, please, I'll give you £6. Like, you just have it. But I mean, best man at his wedding, so he's But Pokemon Heart Gold is it's one of those games that I think it's in my 3DS. I think that's the game that's in my 3DS at the minute. So, and perfect transition there, Chris. The 3DS.
Yeah.
Bit of a rough start, 3DS, but in the end, it turned out to be one of Nintendo's, I think, one of their best consoles. Certainly, I know I enjoyed it a lot, and I know you did. I suspect our answer is the same, but let's go. What was your favourite 3DS game?
My favourite 3DS, and it's got to be Into the series as well. That's Fire Emblem Awakening.
That is the correct answer.
Yeah, so obviously, if you speak to Fire Emblem fans and like long-time ones, they're a little bit iffy on it because of the romance and stuff like that. The social links, let's call them social links from Persona. But that and obviously the cutscenes and stuff like all grabbed me and made me want to check out the rest of the series. So obviously, I played Birthright and Conquest and a bit of Shadows of Vantania, something like that.
Valentia.
Valentia. Yeah, I've only played a bit of that because it came out after the Switch. I'm pretty sure that one did come out after the Switch. And I didn't pick it. It's like, why isn't this on my Switch? I don't want to play my old 3DS and you will do that. And obviously, I've even picked up afterwards Fire Emblem Path of Radiance on my GameCube and stuff like that, and played a bit of that. From that, I can definitely tell the difference of where they went from that to the Awakening with like the social links aspect and that, but it's to like the game that saved the series as well.
Yeah.
So and then obviously now it's like a pretty big one from Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean Fire Emblem now is like one of their premier franchises, but at the time you had a very short physical run on the GameCube. You had a Wii one, which was a sequel to the GameCube, and you had some of the DS remakes. I think there might have been Game Boy Advance remakes over here. I'm not sure.
The first one we got was just called Fire Emblem on the GBA, but I can't remember which one
it's the one that's just been put onto Switch that I have. Shadow and something or other. Shadows of Light or whatever.
Yeah, I bought that as well because it was only
like
staying around for much. Yeah.
But yeah, for me as well, Fire Emblem Awakening. I bought that game not massively expecting anything really. Like, so the story I always tell with the 3DS, why the 3DS and the Wii U is so special to me, which is really corny and cheesy, is me and my girlfriend started dating in 2012, and our like thing together was Nintendo. So we'd watch lots of Nintendo videos together. Like we bought a 3DS for her and a Wii for me for Christmas that year. We didn't touch them. We left them wrapped up so we could have this Christmas Day like opening, and and so I ended up picking up a 3DS for my birthday afterwards because I'd sold my original 3DS, so I bought an XL, and I bought it with Fire Emblem Awakening. So I think it came out around about my birthday, and I did not stop playing that game till it was done. I think I put like 60 hours in. I did almost all of the extra content. I bought the DLC. I just loved it. The characters, the story, the whole the romance thing is like so well done because it has the time skip and the time travel and stuff, like, and you get different characters based on what you do, and those characters are quite fleshed out. And I don't think the later 3DS games did a good job of that. And I'll be honest, I didn't think it was that well done in Three Houses either. I think Three Houses leans far too much into the school days thing, but I get it. Shadows of Valentia was a great game. Birthright was okay, and so we'll see that whole like mini series, the 3 games that were in that were fine. I liked it quite a bit, but yeah, the 3DS had a lot of games I could have chosen. Again the Pokemon games. I thought X and Y was fantastic. Didn't really like Sun and Moon or the Oras remakes, but again, they were still good games. They were just Pokemon games. There's lots of stuff on there that we could get that's much fancier, stuff like Fantasy Life, the Layton games, Mario Kart 7, Mario 3D Land, Majora's Mask, Link Between Worlds. There's a lot of games. There's a lot of very good games on the 3DS. Animal Crossing New Leaf. So if you want to, like, right now, if you can get one cheap, games are still relatively cheap at the moment.
Yeah, they're starting
to go up. Yeah. They are starting to go up.
I've seen today Majora's Mask. I think CEX was selling for like 42 quid or something like that. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
And you can still get games digitally as well, which is like, I know it's something that we won't ever do, but if you wanted to just get one and get digital games, the 3DS is still an option. But anyway, so we could now go into the Switch because that's technically handheld, but we won't. We'll save that for the end because that's going to be the most boring, which is great, right? So.
It's not, because you're right. So, no, you didn't play it on Switch.
No, my answer is not going to be the answer everyone else gives because I didn't play it on Switch. No.
Yeah.
Will it be my Wii U answer? Anyway, so let's go into the home consoles, which is the more fun stuff. So the NES. Let's start with the NES. So for context, for everyone that is American and watching this show, the NES was not that popular over here at all. It was we were a Sega country for a long time, and then now we're a Sony country. So it's like I actually did play them as kids because my cousins had one. Like 2 different sets of cousins had one, and that they got from Debenhams very cheap when they were selling them off. So I did play actually quite a lot of NES back in the day, and now I obviously have my NES Mini. But my favourite NES game is very boring. It's the original Super Mario Brothers, because playing that game, like I'd already played Sonic at this point, so it was like, I still think Sonic's better, But playing Mario Brothers is just classic. Like it was just such a good game. Like even though the graphics were quote unquote bad compared to what I was used to on the Mega Drive, even the Master System, the gameplay is perfect in Super Mario Bros. Like I still think 3 is probably the better game, but my memories.
I was going to say 3 was like my second choice, but it's not what I picked.
3. My problem with 3 is my memories of 3 are from All Stars, because that came with my Super Nintendo. So I remember that game as the All Stars version, not the original version. But yeah, Super Mario Bros. Again, I could have chosen the first Final Fantasy, although obviously that didn't come over here. I've only played that since. I could have chosen Metroid, could have chosen Mega Man 2, I could have chosen lots of games, Castlevania. It's a great console.
Mega Man 2 is very good.
It's up there. So what was your favourite, Chris?
My favourite one, and it sort of pushed the NES to its limit graphically. We're talking about graphics, apart from maybe Super Mario Bros. 3. That's Kirby's Adventure, which I remember getting. Like, I didn't have a NES until later. I went back after getting a GameCube sort of thing, and I remember getting like a boxed, minty copy of Kirby Adventure. It was like my only boxed, like, complete NES game as well. But it's a great sort of. It's a Kirby game, so it's pretty easy and pretty simple because the Kirby games are. But yeah, graphically, it's like really good for a NES game. And, like, you could almost go, oh, it's a SNES game. It's not quite that level, but it's definitely that close. And it's just a fun 2D platformer and that. So yeah, and it's a bit different than say Super Mario Bros. 3.
Yeah, and the Kirby's a series I think is a little underrated as well, because I think most of them are good. Like again, we could have said the 2 3DS games because they were both fantastic games, but we didn't. So let's move on to something a bit more that we know a bit more about. That's the Super Nintendo, which was a much more popular console in the UK. It's really hard actually for this. This is the first home console one, which is genuinely difficult for me to choose, because I grew up with the Super Nintendo. So I'm not going to say the All Stars Super Mario World bundle copy that I have, as much as that is fantastic. It's probably got to be this game. Wait, let's get my hand. This game right here, and that is Super Mario Kart. Like it's hard to explain like how cool Mario Kart was back then, because the thought of playing a 2-player like accessible 3D-ish racing game in like 1996 or whatever is like, it's pretty mental if you start thinking about it. But it's quite a hard game. It's it's not F-Zero hard by any means, but it's quite a difficult game. I just enjoy it. I used to play it with my brother, I used to play it with my cousin Laura and Carly all the time. Every time I used to visit them, I'd be like, cool, I get to play some Mario Kart with my cousins now, and it's fun. Again, I could have chosen so many Super Nintendo games. Street Fighter 2 was very close. Donkey Kong Country was very close. But in the end, for me, I think it has to be the first time I'm going to mention Super Mario Kart today. How about you, Chris?
Right, so SNES is a bit of a weird one because I was a Mega Drive kid. So for me, it's very similar to the NES. I went back to the SNES after the GameCube and that. And the NES games do hold up pretty well, but the SNES games do hold up much better. The 16-bit era in general holds up really well. There is some shaky games that, but also a lot like Kirby, due to its art style and its graphics, and it's damn good. Like, could it have been a PS1 or a Saturn 2D platformer? Possibly. That's Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, which is it's one of my favorite games ever. It was in my top 25 games of all time. It's my favorite 2D Mario as well. It's just really fun. It's just a really fun game.
Yeah, it used Mode 7 and the Super FX chip pretty well. It was one of the first games of that. I think that game was actually quite popular in the UK. I remember seeing that around a lot when I was younger. Actually, more than Super Mario World, which is strange. I remember seeing it. I feel like it's got a yellow case. I might be yellow box.
The box. I think.
Yeah, I have a lot of memories of seeing that game cheap when I was younger, which is annoying because I think if I knew that, I would have just bought like 20 copies and just kept them in like little investment because they'd be worth hundreds of pounds now. But it's a good game. Again, Nintendo have always done 2D platformers very well, even from the beginning. And like the Super Nintendo, you could have picked 10. There's 10 good 2D platformers, let alone your Link to the Pasts and stuff that we didn't play at the time. And if I'd played Link to the Past when I was younger, I'd probably be a bigger Zelda fan than I am now.
Yeah, that's also the thing. Like, you mentioned with DS, like the port of Final Fantasy 3 and stuff, and for like us in Europe, didn't get Final Fantasy 6, didn't get Earthbound, which are all very, very accessible now. Like you can play 6 on your SNES Mini, for instance, or there's like a Steam version or something for it, most probably. So there's games that we didn't play, which we can now play, which might now be our like top games. If we play Final Fantasy 6 now, like this actually was the best SNES game. It's one of those weird ones you didn't play at the time. Like I said, I didn't even play Yoshi's Island at the time. Played it much later. I played it like 2003. So whenever I got half the GameCube.
Revisionist Pengy. It's one of those things as well. I've got to say is that I bring this up every time I have like a Twitter argument. Whenever anyone says to me that the Super Nintendo was better than the Mega Drive, I have to point out that we did not get most of the big games everyone brings up about the Super Nintendo. Like we didn't get Earthbound, we didn't get Mario RPG, we didn't get Final Fantasy. You know what I mean? Didn't we? Like I said, don't even start me on that game. That game haunts me because I've never played it. It's like the most Dave game. I've never played it because the only port is that DS port, which is like impossible
you said,
to get.
It's that weird revisionist history because like times of the world has moved to be much more open than anything like the SNES Mini. Like times it changed where the whole library is now available on the SNES. So it was like
and also we had to put up with PAL, so we had to put up with 50 hertz and like letterboxing and stuff.
Yeah, so it's one of those weird things. Like back in the day, the Mega Drive most probably would have been better because we didn't get Final Fantasy 6, but we got Phantasy Star, for instance. But now in 2021, where we can get the whole library, you just download a load of ROMs or whatever. You don't do that. Well, unless you're Nintendo and charge 60 quid for it or whatever. The whole library is available, and then if you look at the whole library of the SNES in total compared to the Mega Drive, mostly is better. So it's like one of those weird, weird things where times have changed. If like the internet didn't exist, then most readers would say the Mega Drive is better and whatever. So
obviously we're not going to sit here and discuss which is better because that would get us. Hey, I think overall I probably prefer the Super Nintendo, but that's mostly because of the Super Game Boy functionality. Because I did play a lot of Game Boy games on my Super Nintendo, which I still have.
But it didn't have Night Trap, so
it didn't have Night Trap. No, it didn't. We never got that CD add-on we wanted. Moving swiftly on to a console which did have a disc add-on.
Yeah.
Not in Europe. The N64. So this is a weird one for me. This is the only one where I'm like you, and I didn't own my own N64 till a couple of years ago. I borrowed one when I was younger. My dad did a swap for our PlayStation with a friend. So most of my experience with the N64 is from that month where I had it. And mine is a very strange game. People are going to look a bit. I think the forum, if they watch this, are going to be pretty upset by this. But my N64 game of choice is WCW versus NWO Revenge, which is
No Mercy.
No, I didn't play No Mercy, but I've got No Mercy now. So like, it is. I know WWF better than I knew WCW, but I did watch WCW at the time. But it's still the best style of like arcade wrestling game. Like it was simple, but like not. It was simple but simmy at the same time. Whereas now it's like such a sim, it's painful. And it was just a fun game. You could play as all the characters you wanted to play as. I always just play as Kevin Nash because I love those 3 moves that he's got. It's great. And then the music was good, the graphics were great, and it was just a lot of fun. And obviously, I played games with my brother, so it was one of those things like that type of game, like ISS, which was I guess PES back then. I used to play quite a lot as well. Banjo-Kazooie is very close because we played a lot of that, but I played more of that since. I played more of that on Xbox. Conker's Bad Fur Day, I've played more on Xbox. I know Craig screaming Mario Kart 64 at me, and Lilac Wars and these type of games, even Mario 64, but I just didn't play them on an N64 really. Otherwise, again, the obvious answer otherwise would have been Pokemon Stadium and Mario Party because I played them a lot at uni. But for me, WCW vs NWO Revenge is just my favourite game on N64.
Okay, cool. Well, I got the most predictable answer in the history of answers because it was in my top 25 games as well. And that's Ocarina of Time. So, the first 3D Zelda, yeah, it still holds up. I think today, I would play the 3DS version if I was
Yeah,
going
I was gonna
to.
say
If
the actual PAL N64 version probably doesn't.
Yeah, I would recommend obviously playing the 3DS version now because of the improvements. But it's the same dungeons, bosses, and stuff like that, story and all that good stuff. And yeah, it's a fantastic game. It shows good games can still, like, 20 years later or whatever, can still be yeah, good with decent of the gameplay and stuff. Like the graphics, yeah, might have aged, but the gameplay in that on it is still fantastic. And obviously, it's continuing the Zelda series on.
Yeah, and Ocarina of Time is really the blueprint for the next 15 years of 3D Zelda
Yeah.
games. I think it's fair to say. Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, and it's why when you got to Breath of the Wild, they had to change it slightly just because they've done the same for so long. Like, I still think they'll do another Ocarina of Time style game eventually. And to be honest, I'd love them to do a big full remake of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and not just the sort of half 3DS ones they did. I'd like to put it on the Switch. But yeah, obviously I didn't play Ocarina of Time back in the day. I actually played Ocarina of Time on the GameCube when it came with my Wind Waker like double pack that we got over here in Europe, and I loved the game back then. I actually loved it a lot more than Wind Waker back in the day, because Wind Waker starts with a stealth section, which I suck at. But yeah, Ocarina of Time, I mean, no one's going to argue. People are going to argue about me saying a wrestling game and a WCW wrestling game at that, but people won't argue with you, Chris, don't worry. No. So now we move on to arguably one of our favourite consoles.
It's my favorite console.
It's up there for me, but it's not my favorite.
And like I said about the NES, and like N64, like I went back to them after playing the GameCube, because the GameCube, even though I had Nintendo stuff, I had the Game Boy, and I actually had an N64, but like I never played it because I played my PlayStation.
Not the Saturn.
Not that I didn't have a Saturn back then. Going back, playing the Nintendo games and going, I want to learn about the rest of their, sort of library, and all stems back from the GameCube. So,
yeah, and I obviously I played much more of Nintendo as it was out, really, because like I always had a games console. I've got a younger brother, so it's the easiest Christmas present ever. Every other year, just buy us a games console. I love the GameCube. The GameCube, it's tough. In any other generation, it'd be my favorite console, but it has to fight the Xbox and the Dreamcast so hard for my love. Not the PlayStation 2. Doesn't have to fight the PlayStation 2. But yeah, the GameCube's tough. The GameCube's really tough to pick a game as well, because stuff like Melee and Double Dash and Mario Party 4, 5, 6, and 7 are games, and I say WarioWare, probably WarioWare as well, are games that Time Splitters 2, games that I played all through school, college, and university in like LANs and in dormitories and stuff, and like the amount of hours I must have played of Double Dash and Melee at uni is ludicrous. Me and my girlfriend now still play Mario Party. You know what I mean? So it's tough to pick a game. It's really tough to pick a game. But the game I am going to choose, and I'm going to grab it off my shelf because I'm next to my shelf, Chris.
Yeah, sure. I just think if I grab mine, but
you're gonna hate it as well, right? Because I've only got. This is one of the games I only have a Player's Choice copy of, and this is a new. I actually really like the Player's Choice copies over here. This is a new edition. Like, this is a recent top of the list, and that is Metroid Prime. Like, so we played this. I played it a little bit back in the day, but I got kind of stuck. It's quite a hard game if you don't really know what you're doing. We played this for a gaming book club show we did very briefly about 3 years ago, me, you, and Pete, and I ended up finishing it, and I just couldn't believe I missed out on it. Like, it is so unbelievably well made. Like, sure, there's quite a lot of backtracking, but that's what the genre is. But the atmosphere that game builds, the graphics of that game, even like at the time, I played on a 50-inch TV through a SCART cable, and I couldn't believe how good it looked on the GameCube. The controller is built for it. It feels like first-person Zelda more than it feels like Halo, because if you have like lock on and you have to use, you go to an area, you get a tool that helps you get through another area. You know what I mean? It has that kind of like almost like Zelda-y sort of appeal. Obviously, Samus as a character is very interesting because she's a woman, which is unbelievably like a rare thing still. But back then, especially, like she was quiet and she wasn't sexualized and stuff like she was later on. And it's like, oh, this is really cool. The whole like badass bounty hunter thing is like not done enough. You know what I mean? So it was a very cool game, and like I said, it held up. I think the series is one of Nintendo's best quality series, the Prime series. It's obviously awful for sales. Let's not avoid that. No one buys Metroid, so it'll be interesting to see how Dread does, but
they're just going to do ridiculously well.
It's going to be the best game. Yeah, it's going to be the best-selling game. And then there's long been rumored. No, go on.
It'd be the best-selling game like day one.
Yeah, 100% it will be. They've long rumored that a trilogy HD port is done. So I've been wanting to replay all 3 of these games recently, and I'm holding off, man, because it's the second I start it. There you go. I have Echoes too. I like Echoes quite a lot. I need another replay of Echoes though, I think. But yeah, Metroid Prime. Again, I could have chosen so many games, Chris. This is like this and a console in a few picks time is so difficult to pick a game for. But yeah, what is yours?
Mine's easy because it's my number 1 game of all time, and you mentioned it before, and that's Wind Waker, which obviously is my favorite. It's my favorite Zelda, GameCube, 3D, whatever you want. Zelda game. Yeah, it's a great game. It's the game. Like I said, I wasn't really a Nintendo person. I was a PlayStation/Sega person, and obviously got my GameCube, and it's the first Zelda game I played. And I'm like, oh, this is what Zelda is. This is like fantastic, and now we start the show going through our backlog. I now own 40 odd Zelda games. I own amiibos, cuddly toys, and stuff like that. It's one of my favorite series of all time. I can't think of any other series like maybe Metal Gear or Final Fantasy or something like that. That's it's that good, the series. So overall, and it all started with Wind Waker. I love the art style, like the HD version of it as well. That looks good, but it still looks really good on the GameCube because of that toon style, which everyone hated at the time. But
they did.
Now, 20 years later, it's fantastic. And then the dungeons and the bosses and the characters and Tetra, obviously later is Zelda.
Oh, and spoilers, Chris! Jesus Christ!
Spoilers for a 20-year-old game. Oh, Jesus, Arif dice. What else you want to know? It's Ganon and stuff like that. All the characters and that, and Link's little face and stuff like that. It's just so good.
Yeah, and Wind Waker's a special one for me. Not because I particularly like the game. I think it's okay. I find it very frustrating because I just get easily frustrated. But my girlfriend is her favorite game of all time. She has the stained glass window tattoo on her arm. She's got a half sleeve of the stained glass window, and then on the back she's got the Ganondorf from Wind Waker. And I helped her finish the HD version. When it came out, I remember she struggled with that final boss. That's basically, I always claim that I finished it because I just did the final boss and she hasn't. So she'll get me back for that. But yeah, it's a very special game. Again, I don't understand why there haven't been ports to the Switch. Because let's be real honest here, right? If they just went, here's HD, it's 50 quid for that and Twilight Princess, we'd both buy it.
No, yeah, but they're selling them separate, mate.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean separately. I don't mean on their own. God no, they're not going to give us a good deal. If they put it separately, £50 a month apart, I'd buy it. They'll get bought. I don't know why they haven't done it, but there you go, Nintendo. So on the complete opposite end of the spectrum to the GameCube for both of us is the Wii. Now I know this is going to upset people on the forum because the main gist I get from the forum guys is obviously they were Nintendo all the way through, and so they have a much bigger appreciation for the Wii than we do. By this point we were 16, 17, and I was certainly going through that stage where I don't really want to play Nintendo games because they're not very cool. I want to play Halo, I want to play Gears of War, I want to play Call of Duty and stuff, which is
like I was saying about the GBA DS.
Yeah, and
it's now when you sort of talk about it, it's stupid. And I think that I can't remember, there's someone that's got a quote about childness or something like that, someone famous or something, and it's that's kind of apt, especially with Nintendo. It's something it's childish to think something's childish or something like that. It's much more sophisticated than that.
As soon as you hit 18 you don't care, but at that age you do care. If you don't want your mates taking the piss out of you because you're playing Big Brain Academy or Zack and Wiki, or they're playing Gears of War.
You need to be playing Gears and Call of Duty.
Yeah, that's what the girls like, man. And then, to be fair, every time I ever took a girl back to my house, she wanted to play on the Wii. She didn't want to play FIFA. You know what I mean? So
like Wii Sports.
girls love Nintendo. Anyway, so really for me, and I think for you as well, like my appreciation for the Wii has come a lot. Like now, like I appreciate the Wii more now than I did when it came out. I had a Wii when it came out, and I played I played the Wii quite a lot. But for me, it's going to really surprise you, Chris. But so I'm going to let you go first while I grab it. But what's your favorite Wii game? It might be the same game actually.
There's a couple I considered. I considered Twilight Princess, which is a launch game, but I also played it on GameCube, and the GameCube version is the version. Well, it's not really the superior version now because you have the HD version. But out of the two, if you said you play it on Wii or GameCube, I play it on GameCube. Skyward Sword was considered. Sort of thing because it is a game, but the motion controls do work. And like I was saying about the HD, it's shown like the game really worked for the Wii. Wii Sports I even considered because it was like the whole Wii. That game is like the Wii. If you summed up the console in general, what is the Wii? It's Wii Sports. But my actual choice, and I think it's really underrated. I think everyone focuses way too much on Xenoblade out of the three games, and this is much better than Xenoblade, and that's Last Story.
Yeah, the Last Story is pretty good. It's the like Vagrant Story, like spiritual sequel.
Oh yeah, it was also called Last Story because it's from the guy that did Final Fantasy and
Sakaguchi.
Yeah, it's supposed to be his last story, like Final Fantasy, sort of thing. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Like for me to finish like an RPG on the Wii, and like graphically, it's it uses not bright, colourful like Xenoblade. It's much darker colours, so it doesn't hold up that well now. I would think, but yeah, I really liked it. I love the combat system and the story of it. It's Final Fantasy on the Wii, but it's just not called Final Fantasy. And if you like Final Fantasy, it's one to play. Basically, it's mostly one that people mostly missed as well. But yeah, I really like that story. Like I said, I would take a sequel. It's why I'm really interested in Fantasian. If that ever gets ported from anything apart from being on Apple Arcade,
please come to Switch. Like, please
where's my Switch for? Now that Part 2 is also done, it's like, where's my Switch? Yeah, like that comes to any. I would even be tempted to play it on PC if it came just to play it on PC.
My God.
I really want to play that game and stuck there. So Last Story wasn't his last story. Is basically what I'm also saying.
He did a fair few games after that. So for me, my honourable mentions: Super Mario Galaxy. I played a little bit of, didn't finish on the console. I'm hoping to finish on Switch. Twilight Princess. I probably slightly prefer the GameCube version. I definitely prefer the Wii U version, but the Wii version is fine. I enjoyed Super Paper Mario quite a bit. I enjoyed what else was even that? I quite enjoyed Mad World, and I haven't played Metroid Prime 3 yet, but I'm sure I would enjoy it, and I own it anyway. So the game that is my favourite game on the Wii, I've only ever finished 2 games in this series, which will surprise you. That might even be a high number for what your opinion of me is, but this is my favourite game in that series, and that is Resident Evil 4.
Okay, yeah, that's really good. It's a weird one because it was.
You played it on GameCube, didn't you?
I played it on GameCube first, and it was obviously exclusive for GameCube for a while. But the Wii version is. We talked about this, I think, something on the podcast. Is most probably, I know it's been HD'd and then HD'd since. But like the Wii version is really good, like the Wii Wiimote, and that actually did add something really good. But it is basically like an enhanced GameCube game, really. So I kind of just always associate it with the GameCube. Why also I really like the GameCube because of Resident Evil 4 is so good. But yeah, that's a great pick, really.
Yeah, and like
what was the other one you finished? Oh, it was going to be like 5 or 6.
Yeah, I finished 5 in co-op. I don't do zombies. The problem is, right, I played Resident Evil 1 on the PS1 there was a guy who used to live down the street called Darren, who was friends with my parents, used to babysit me and my brother, right? He was like 30, he was a nice guy. He had loads of games. I used to play Gran Turismo around there all the time, but he let us play Resident Evil 1 when we were like 6 or 7, and the first bit scared the shit out of me. And I've had like a weird irrational fear of zombies for literally. I'm 31 years old with a degree. I know that zombies aren't a thing, but it's still there. It still scares me. I don't like jump scares and stuff.
I was going to say, is that the first bit where you go down the hallway and then you open the door and he goes to the cutscene and the zombies
yeah,
turns around?
they're
Yeah,
like really gross zombie. Like, and it's even worse in the remake of that game, which is a terrifying game. Which I did try and play stupidly on the GameCube, and it's a terrifying game. But Resident Evil 4 is a bit more actiony, and it's a bit more silly, and it's much less zombies. They're monsters, they're not zombies, right? The Wii controls were great, actually. Like, again, I've never been a big fan of motion controls, but in this instance, the Wii controls were great. This version of the game was widescreen. It had the Ada Wong extra content, which wasn't in the GameCube version. I believe
the PS2 version and the GameCube version melded together.
Yeah, it also ran really well. It was a 60 hertz game, through and through for us, which is sounds silly now, but at the time it was cool. And it was one of the few games where I just sat there and I just basically played it till it was done one evening, because I think when it came out on the Wii, I think it was just after, or like a little bit after Gears of War, because obviously Gears of War was out before the Wii, so I was kind of looking for a similar type of game. Like, Gears kind of got me into mature games. It sounds really silly, but I used to be the kid, so we used to go to game shops, right, me and my friends, and they'd all be like, oh, let's see if we can get GTA, or let's see if we can get Call of Duty, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to get Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of person I was. Like, Sonic Adventure was my favorite game for years. So for me to be like, okay, Gears has kind of got me into these type of games. I'll try this Resident Evil 4 game that, I think my brother bought it as well. I think it was one of my brother's games. He was like, oh, it's sick, you need to try it. And I remember like a couple of nights just sitting there playing that game all the way through and be like, yeah, this is good stuff, So it's a weird one. It's not something you'll probably ever hear from me again, that a Resident Evil game is my favorite game on a console, but Resident Evil 4 on the Wii is great stuff. The only thing that's bad about it, Chris, look at that, it's lowercase.
Yeah.
People know how much I hate that. God damn it. Anyway.
Yeah, it's weird. Why is Resident and Evil not capital R and E?
Anyway, moving on to the good stuff now. It's the Wii U. So me and Chris have, when we started the show in I think it was 2016. We started the show, by the way, Chris, just to let you know, just to make you feel ancient. We were long suffering Stockholm syndrome lovers of the Wii U. Yes. And and I would still hold my hand up and say it's my favorite console of that generation, pound for pound. The lines get blurred because of backwards compatibility on the Xbox One and the PS4's 3D third-person action games are pretty good. But overall, the Wii U is my favorite console of that gen. It's my favorite console of all time. I've talked about this before. I think the emotional attachment of it being that kind of console that me and my girlfriend fell in love is one of those things as well. So, and I think I own 80 physical games for the Wii U. It's one of those consoles that we just collect for, me and my girlfriend. And if I see a game cheap, I'll buy it, which is getting harder and harder, Chris. So I'll open up. It's so tough to pick a game on the Wii U. I could list 20, 30 games. I could list Wonderful 101. I could list Paper Mario Color Splash. I could list Breath of the Wild. I could list the Zelda ports. I could list fucking Splatoon. I could list Super Smash Brothers, like Donkey Kong. You could go on and on and on. My favorite game on the Wii U is Mario Kart 8. It sounds like a cop-out, but I played 160 hours of that game, and the DLC was fantastic. The only thing that was bad about it was the battle mode. No one cares about battle mode anyway, so it doesn't matter. The online was great. It still is, weirdly. It's more stable than the Switch version, which is mad. I think it's the best looking game on the console. I think overall it's the best looking game on the console. And yeah, I just played it a lot and I loved it. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, Mario Kart 8 is a great game. This is also we've discussed it before, my not hate for the Switch, but my
it's a little bit of hate.
I don't know what
your underwhelmment is the nicest.
It's because Mario Kart 8, you have it on my Wii U here somewhere. I don't know. I don't think I've played that many hours of it, but I obviously did go through all the cups and play multiplayer and stuff like that of it, and it's on Switch. I'm I got it on my Wii U. It's perfectly fine on the Wii U. It looks great on my Wii U, sort of thing. It's it's if Mario Kart 9 came to, or Nintendo Kart, or Super Smash Kart or something, I don't know what you would call it, came to the Switch, I'd be super excited for that. Sort of thing. So it's a weird one. It is a fantastic game. So it's it's like I played it on Wii U, where also my favorite Wii U game has been ported as well to the Switch. And that's Bayonetta 2. Because didn't think we'd ever get a sequel to this, and like Nintendo publishing something like Bayonetta, and will we ever see Bayonetta 3? Who knows? Yeah. But yeah, it's fantastic. It is mostly the best game of that weird hack and slashy Devil May Cry genre. It's like if Halo Infinite comes out this year, and it's like that's the best. Right, that is the best first-person shooter. This is the best hack and slash sort of like game. It's the best of the genre. It's something like completely different on the Wii U as well, because obviously like Mario Kart and that's fantastic, but it's very different from Nintendo game. That Wii U exclusive as well. I guess now it's not because it's come to Switch, but yeah, it's fantastic, and obviously the costumes and stuff like that, and Nintendo theming and stuff like that. It's just a great game, and I'm still waiting for my Bayonetta 3.
It is weird that Bayonetta 3 got announced so long ago, and they've kind of gone trying to get it to run on the Switch. I think is probably the problem. That's my suspicion. It's just getting it to run, because I think 2 runs okay on Switch. It struggled on Wii U. Very much struggled on Wii U. But yeah, Bayonetta 1 and 2, the combined pack where it was a great value.
I played Bayonetta 1 as well on the Wii U. Basically went back to back with the 2 Bayonetta games. So yeah, they're
and obviously we got a full physical edition of Bayonetta 1 with our special edition, not just the extra disc like those unlucky Americans. But the Wii U is great. I think we could safely say today in 2021, in 10 years time, it will be the most underrated Nintendo console comfortably, because it's just going to get seen as this Switch stepchild that it had all the games the Switch had.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Everyone, if you go in 10 years time, oh, did you like Mario Kart 8? Yeah, it was great on my Switch. I think it's just going to be totally weirdly forgotten about.
Yeah, it is going to be 100% going to be forgotten about. Anyway, we end this on what's current, which is the Nintendo Switch, which obviously could well outsell the Wii, and I think it probably will. I think it's coming for the DS. I think that's its ultimate goal.
Yeah,
I think it could, if they decide not to do a sequel, which I don't think they will. I think they're going to do. I think you're going to get a Switch. You got a Switch OLED now. You got the Switch Lite. I think you'll have a Switch like a DSi. You'll have like a Switch Eye, like a new Switch, before you get the sequel to the Switch, which, to be honest, is going to have to be a Switch. There's no way they can go from a hybrid console back to a home console and a handheld, right? So we're stuck with hybrids now till the end of time, till cloud takes over.
Yeah.
So obviously it's difficult for me and you for Switch, because I don't actually think we've completed that many games for Switch, really, in the 4 years it's been out.
Yeah, it's just like it's like the big Nintendo games that aren't ports. Like I have played and finished on Switch, but there hasn't been that huge amount of them. People might go, well, there's been loads, but it's like not thing. But yeah, my favorite Switch game is Fire Emblem Three Houses. Yeah, because it's a Fire Emblem game. Really, it's only on Switch. It's I really enjoyed it. I only did the one playthrough. Maybe I should have done more, and especially with the DLC of the Grey. What they call Grey Wolves.
I own that DLC.
Yeah, so I always really want. I've really hoped Nintendo haven't done it with the Switch yet. But you're saying like the player's choice, and they had this on Wii U where they redid the Super Mario Bros. And what do you call it? The Luigi. They did it together back as set together on the Wii U as player's choice, and they've done it with Pokemon as well on the Switch, where they put the expansion and the regular game together. So we're really hoping for a Game of the Year sort of edition, or a player's choice of this, where it'd have the DLCs, because I almost would pick it up and read it, going through that route of it, and really. Yeah, really good game. There's other games I do like on the Switch. I can't think what my number 2 would mostly be Animal Crossing. I played 90, 100 hours into Animal Crossing on one, and I only had the Lite, but that feels like a handheld game, even though it started on the 64DD. It just feels like a handheld game to me more than anything. But yeah, Free House is It's a great RPG, and if the remake rumors are true for, I think it's the Holy War game is the one that they were rumors of it. So I'd be excited for that.
Yeah, it's tough for the Switch. I played four houses. I played three houses this year, and I thought it was fine.
Found like three and a bit houses.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
kind of now. For me, it's probably my number three Fire Emblem game that I've played. I obviously prefer Awakening, and I do prefer Shadows of Valentia a lot. Actually, Shadows of Valentia is a fantastic game. I got bored of the Persona-y school days stuff. I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah,
I
I
liked the
see.
combat, and I just
I,
wanted it to end. But by the time we got to it, I was just like, can
See,
we
this is
end
what I
now?
don't know if they're leaning to. Like I said, with Awakening is really popular and had those social link aspects, and obviously like saved the series. If they've leaned right, well, this one sold really, really well, and they've gone, look, this Persona 5 has sold really, really well as well. It's like maybe we need to, we keep leaning into that social aspects, and that's why you got all the school in live things of it. So it'd be interesting what a remake of Holy War would be like if it keeps it to what it was like, or we suddenly do have social aspects mixed into it or whatnot.
Yeah, I just think less of a focus would be fine. I don't mind the social aspect, but I think it was too much of the game for me personally. Again, it was still a good game. It's not like I didn't like it, but I thought it was a bit too much for me. So the runners up for me, like I said, the Switch is weird because I've played bits, but I've not completed a lot on the Switch. So like my runners up would be Super Mario Odyssey. I've gone on record to say it's one of my least favorite 3D Mario games, and people would look at me like I'm a psycho. They were all good games, but I just don't. I think it's too. It's not exciting to get a moon to me, which is my issue.
It's one of those weird things. Like Odyssey would definitely be in my top 10 Switch games, and it is a fantastic game. It's just like you said, it's not more of the same because obviously Galaxy in this is much different. It's more like Sunshine and 64, and like we hadn't had one of them for ages, but it is sort of like a.
It's to me, it's more like Banjo-Kazooie than it's like any of those games. Like it's more like Donkey Kong 64. I think it's more of a collectathon. I think it's a beautiful game, and it has some really interesting ideas. But I just think it's a bit. I don't know. I just prefer like the some more structured Mario games. Like I prefer 3D World, massively prefer 3D World over Odyssey. I know that's sacrilege, but that's just me. My favorite game is really down to the three games that I really loved on Switch. So the number 3 is Final Fantasy 9 because it's just another. I've played that game 600 times on everything. I just love that game. So it's gonna really piss everyone off on the forum. But it's down to 2 and they're the same series. So my number 2 is Pokemon Sword, which I did enjoy. But it's just a Pokemon game. So my favorite game on the Switch is Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, which I know is like such a cop out because it's just Pokemon Red. But I genuinely enjoyed every second I played of that game. I really did. I got everything. I got to complete the Pokedex. I even got the ones from Pokemon Go. I went and fucking did Pokemon Go to get the Mel Meta? Like. You know what I mean? I did most of the elite trainers, which were like one specific time. So I had like a level 90 Weedle to fight a level fucking 70 Weedle. You know what I mean? Like, and I just enjoyed it. It was very nostalgic. I think the art style was actually better than Sword and Shield. I think it was just cleaner and it looks nicer, and it was just a fun game. It was really fun just to do the whole catching mechanic, and the battle system was pretty much the red and blue battle system. It wasn't hard, but sometimes you just want to chill out and play a game that's comfortable, and I think that the Let's Go game did that. And I know people are going to get annoyed because it's not a proper Pokemon game, but it was just a fun game. And I personally think, and you might agree with me, is the next 6 to 12 months is going to be the big change for my Switch top 10. It probably will be for you as well.
Yeah, because I know, like I'm jokingly, and we've played into it of the year of the Switch sort of thing, and obviously my backlog, like a lot of those games, I did pick up this year on Switch. Again, if I had a PlayStation system, would I have picked Italy up on Switch? Most probably not. So it is a bit wishy-washy on there, but. Like Monster Hunter Rise is my favorite game of the year, for instance. It's a Switch game. It's coming to PC at some point. And like Stories 2 played this year, like my second favorite game thing. So again, it's also on PC, but console exclusive or whatever. Like my second favorite game of both Monster Hunter games, both on Switch. Got Dread coming up soon, which is most really going to be great. Then we obviously got the Pokemon remake. We got Shin Megami Tensei 5, which most really could be like one of the underrated game of the years. I can see that being reviewed very well, and like everyone forgetting about it
Yeah,
because it's a
it's coming out
really
a
weird.
week before Pokemon,
Yeah, and then you got like Advance Wars reboot,
which I have pre-ordered.
and then January you got Pokemon Legends, you got Splatoon 3's 2022, you
You've
got the
already missed out on WarioWare and
yeah,
Mario
Cruise,
Party
Cruise and Blast.
and Crimson Blast and Sonic Colors Ultimate, and
Hmm.
it's just games coming out
Yeah,
for
and
the
there's a
Switch.
lot,
So
and like I said, going into 2022, Splatoon, you got your Mario and Rabbids 2 game,
yeah,
you got your Breath of the Wild 2,
got Pokemon
Bayonetta
Legends,
is
Bayonetta 3
Bayonetta
hopefully.
yeah, sort of thing. And there's obviously the remakes, like rumors of remakes of like Fire Emblem
The
and stuff like
Metroid
that.
Prime trilogy and all that good stuff. So
Yeah, so
Metroid
if you
Prime
count,
4 eventually.
yeah, so it's like there's going to be a lot of like decent stuff, like almost every month from Nintendo going on. Like I'm not hugely fussed about Wario, but like I've got Metroid in October, and that's going to be hopefully pretty great. So yeah, like you said, our top 10, like my top 10s, which game, because like updating on the forum, like Balor's done it every year, like changing the top, like altering our top 10. We've not done like a proper vote or anything. Mine's rarely changed, or it's just been like this one game it's popped in, like Animal Crossing popped in to my top 10 last year, because like that was basically the only Switch game I played last year. And then this year, obviously, Monster Hunter's going to pop in, and like I see like a Metroid Dread, and then next year, so it could be like 2020, end of 2022, like, oh yeah, the Switch, I've now got these 10 games that I've all played, and they've all been brand new, and they've all been fantastic on the Switch. It's just we will see if when we get there, basically.
Yeah, and I think for us as well, like I said, we're such big Wii U fans. This is kind of now getting to the end of
Mm.
the games that were on Wii U. Like, there's only
Yeah,
so many more they can port. There's only really Xenoblade X, I think, is the last real
pretty much.
game they can port. Like, they're not fussed on Paper Mario and Star Fox Zero,
Nintendo Land.
Nintendo Land, stuff like that. So I think really Xenoblade X is the last one, really, that I think,
Pretty much.
even Project Blackwater's coming over, right? So it's like there isn't a lot left. So yeah, I think
Yeah, so like, that's the thing, Nintendo, and obviously you could get the HD or ports or deluxe of the Zelda games and that, but you said there isn't much that Nintendo can really port over now from the Wii U, so it's gonna have to be new games or remakes, or
or
I know.
3DS ports. That's
Oh,
that's the next step. It's going to get all the 3DS
that's
games
because
ported.
I could really see a HD Ocarina of Time 3D
Yeah,
being a thing. So but yes, there's like one of the weird one. But again, like we were on a backlog and we did physical games. Like I got quite a few eShop games and stuff like that. And, like the eShop is really decent for indies. I think the problem with us was like our main system is Xbox, where like a lot of indies go straight into Game Pass. And if an indie isn't gone into Game Pass, we're like, oh yeah, this one looks good, but I've got something to play. And that's like one of our Like if we were solely on Switch, I think that might have, obviously there could be like other games that we've played, like Hollow Knight, for instance. We're like, oh yes, that game's fantastic. And I can totally understand that being someone's favorite Switch game or in their top 10, but like it's on Game Pass, and it's like one of those weird like things. So like being a multi-player platform gamer, like it skews it a little bit of like what is a good game and stuff. And like we have Wii U's, so also like I don't care about any of the Switch ports really. I know I own Tokyo Mirage Sessions. That's like the only one I own, sort of them from the Switch ports. So it's like,
yeah, and it's tough. Like I think I've long considered going to just one console because I think I would enjoy it more. But it's still like, I wish I hadn't bought PS5. I've said this before on our podcast. Like it's probably the worst decision I've made in terms of buying a console early, because there isn't anything on there for me, and certainly for the price. Like you said, like the indies on Switch, I think most all indie games are more fun on Switch because you can play them handheld. But unless you get, like say the weird Wargroove and Owlboy releases that I have, like it's limited run, and I'm not getting in a queue to spend £40 on an indie game. You know what I mean? So Game Pass is just so accessible. You can play it on your phone now, you can play it on your PC and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, I think for me and you, the Switch the next 18 months is probably going to be a bigger console than we see it right now. I mean, there's 2 Pokemon games in the next 6 months. Like that alone will probably crack into my top 10. Metroid Dread might surprise me, might surprise you. I don't know. I'm trying to avoid watching too many trailers because I just want if I'm gonna get it, I want it new. I feel bad for Shin Megami Tensei because I don't see a world in which I buy that because it's just it's too many similar games around it. Like, I don't know when I'm going to be free from JRPGs.
I think it's one of those weird ones. I think pretty much everyone that's keen on it will buy it. It's one of those weird RP things that like it sell out. It'll do really well in its first week, and then it totally drop off.
That'll be the rare game issue. It won't be Metroid. It'll be Shin Megami Tensei 5. It'll be nearly impossible to buy in like 10 years' time. But I literally can't do all the overtime just to buy games I'm not going to play. So I think I've got a game a month pre-ordered between now and February. I think when I checked, and all of them are Switch games. And there's stuff that I'm not pre-ordering, like WarioWare. I'm waiting. I might get it for Christmas. Like I think my girlfriend's pre-ordered Mario Party because she's just like, we're getting the new Mario Party. Like whether you like it or not, we're playing Mario Party, and I'm like, okay. That's when you've got a Nintendo fan girlfriend, you kind of have to play the Mario Parties with them. So, well, that was the first episode of our little Nintendo pilot, Chris. I suspect we will do another next month.
Sure.
If you're watching the show, drop in your favorite games for consoles. Drop in topic ideas because we like to know, especially if you're forumites. Please let us know if there's how much you hate me for saying that WCW is the best N64 game and Let's Go Pikachu is the best Switch game. So, oh god. But yeah, if you like us, you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at EOFGizmo, follow Chris at MassOfDas, and we will see you in a podcast in the future. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.